ShopDog says, welcome back to a 67 Camaro video. I don't know what I'm going to do tonight, but I got a few hours. I think what I'm going to do is pull this fender and see what all's going to be involved in this, because this profile is definitely not correct. Also, it was very weird going and seeing the 68 and seeing that that body line also doesn't line up. That makes me nervous. I'd like to see more cars, just to make sure. Maybe these never lined up. I know in 69 they sure made a drastic change to the body line. If you recall, it's got a big swoop that starts here, comes back and fades in the door. Yeah, see, I'm still hopeful that I can improve that. But yeah, in fact, that's the other weird thing. This body line is much sharper than on the 68. Makes me wonder if the 68 is just mudded over. So, Ooh, I got to decide too if I'm going to do these badges or not. Yeah, I've also been thinking that I might go ahead at some point and fill in the old holes from the rocker spear there. But we'll deal with that later. That's an easy thing to do. Yep, so let me get her up, get a little music going, take a look, and see what we're going to do. Okay, for better or for worse, this is where I think I need to work. Let me grab my pointer here. You see right here and here is this gap. This contour follows okay right to here. From this point down, it's pretty close here, but it doesn't have any of the contour. So I've made, and I know cardboard's not the right material, I get that. But you can see that pretty closely follows the door rocker combination. Now, when I come here, obviously, you can see this big gap here. I think I can almost push a stick through it. Look at that big gap. That's the thing I got to figure out what to do. And I think before I commit to anything, what I'm going to do is take this fender off and see how bad it is back here structure-wise. I know there's a big reinforcement piece in here. I just don't necessarily remember what it looks like. So, guess this fender's coming off. I'll set up a stand. And it's exactly the opposite of what I was hoping for. I don't know why, but I was really hoping that this bracing went a little more forward. Okay. So, this is the contour here that's incorrect. I don't know how I get back here to shape that. I gotta think about this. We could very rapidly exceed my comfort zone. So, we'll see. We'll see what we can figure out here. Okay, so I've got the fender sitting here and trying to decide the best approach. When I take my profile here, if I take it to that point, to where it went here, you can see, now remember this gets squeezed just a little, so we'll be a little off. But you can see there's just no arc here. So, is it better for me to cut it here and start kind of prying and pounding and trying to put that contour in? Or am I better off cutting this up here, which I hope you guys can see? Am I better off reshaping here and then trying again? I don't know what that's all about. I don't even remember seeing that. Okay, so yeah, there's a weird hole there. I bet that's a drain or something. So what's the right approach here? I gotta think about it. I think no matter what, I'm gonna wind up delaminating some of these pieces, and I'm not looking forward to that. For better or for worse, I've been doing a little cutting. So I can't find, I know I bought some of those Blair cutters, but I can't find them. So ground these two spot welds out, and then I sliced it here. And unfortunately, because the structure is still here, it's hard to get back here. But all I'm trying to do is move a little bit of metal out to kind of start following the contour. I can shape that with body filler. That's fine, but the metal needs to be there. So just kind of doing that. I think in a little bit I'm going to stick it on the car and see if I'm causing problems or not. All he says, of course this caused problems. So obviously the same shim stack didn't work anymore, so I'm going to have to monkey with that. This is now too low. This is even further apart. This is almost good. The door obviously has to come back more, but I wanted to be able to see. So I can almost get what I want there. But something changed. What do I got to change? I got to think about this for a bit. So figured, I mean, yeah, what's the worst I can do? Screw it up. It already didn't work. Now, at this point, I need to think about this for a bit. So I'm going to take a break. Might be tomorrow. It might be Saturday. I don't know. But I may wind up having to do more cutting here than I was expecting. So, Anyway, we'll be back in a bit. Well, it's the next evening. It was frustrating last night, and Ollie wasn't digging all the noise. So we quit before I did any more damage. Today at lunch, I ran over to Harlan's and 1, borrowed the Stinger, and 2, grabbed the old fenders, which are rougher than I remember, but also, honestly, maybe weren't as bad as we thought now, based on what I'm doing now. But one of the things I noted, and of course it's the area that's rotted on this one, is when you look down here, you can see there's an arch in this profile right there that the repops do not have. Whew, yeah. I think I may throw this on just to kind of look and see what's going on. See if maybe there's something I can do. Very frustrating. Okay, so I've got this on here. I didn't spend a ton of time aligning it, but enough, I think, to see what I want to see. So, a couple things I note is, as we know, the door definitely has some issues. And this fender also has some issues. That's why we weren't using it. But I'm bringing it up to show you something that definitely catches my eye. Have you noticed it yet? This body line is even worse. There, now it should be real easy to see. The difference here is even worse. So, let me grab my stick. You can see up here, this was reason, oh no. So big there. Coming down here. And then obviously, I know I can rotate the door a little bit and get some of that. Oh, got some scale I'd have to clean off if I wanted to use that. But see, this is what this should look like. Because this is pretty reasonable here. You can see, except for this, obviously. And at this point, it must be the door. Thanks, good Mark. But you can see that. Now here, that's the only spot, because once again, and I'm sure I could probably put some shims in here and probably get this alignment a little better. And I still may. Mostly what I wanted to know was how all that looked. On the upside, I can't open the door. So, I mean, there is that. I would expect to be able to open the door, though, because I could drive 3 semi-trucks through that. Yeah, and this fender's definitely worse than I remember. But, you know, what do you do? So I will probably, yeah, see, this broke. So that spot weld there is busted. That's great. And you can see all kinds of holes have been drilled and filled here as badges have been changed. Don't know what happened here. I think it was a repair. Obviously a repair here as well. This body line's been changed a little. Some welding here. And unfortunately that would need a patch if we wanted to use this. And even though, oh my, this fender is so much heavier, if it doesn't fit any better, why use it? So, and this one I do believe is a factory fender. It is considerably heavier than that guy. So, it's a bummer, but I don't know that it's savable. Or, well, of course it's savable. I don't know that it's the best use of my time. I just have to learn how to make this shape. But now I have that shape. And as I suspected, getting this lined up, so you can see that now is in line pretty good. I lose right here. So see, it's pretty good here. So obviously I would still have to squish the fender down or up, one or the other. But the bigger thing is, here's the body line from the door, and it's quite a bit below the body line of the fender. I don't know what the heck that is. So, on the upside, I mean, I'm better here. Obviously still not perfect. And it gets real snug there. But we already knew it was the door. We knew the door was the problem on that. And that's why we've been correcting the door. On the upside, look how nice that swings. On the downside, it doesn't fit all that great. So, also, to get all that alignment, now you can see we're kind of losing that a little, which is not what I want to see. Yeah, I haven't decided if that makes me feel better or if it makes me feel worse. That body line is even worse. So I didn't bring doors. I'm not going to get that far anyway. Those doors we're not using. These are what we're using. So I guess we're going to try to fix this. You know, I may or may not have caused myself trouble with the cutting I've done. But we'll see. We'll see. I got some learning to do. Anyway, this may be the end for tonight. And then we got a long weekend this weekend. So we'll film some more yet. Okay, so I had to get a new spot weld cutter. I bought one. I don't know where it is. So I've been cutting out and dealing with that so that I can peel this brace. And you can see I tried so hard to do that with this brace in here, and you just couldn't. So now I should be able to take my long dolly wherever it is, not these little short ones, but I've got a long curved one, and start kind of hammering along that, should I ever find it. Oh, it's literally right here. It looks like a comma. So I should be able to kind of start working a bit of a curve in here. And in here was the problem. So I've cut away from this metal, and I've kind of pried that almost to the shape I want. Obviously, it's ugly now. If this works, great. If it doesn't, I can just buy this patch piece and try again. So I think the learning is worth the risk here. Okay. So I figured I might as well take a quick peek at pounding this out. It's still hard to get back here, but I don't want to peel all of that. And knowing that I'm doing body work here and putting bright work here, you know, don't forget that part. A piece of trim goes here. I don't know that it shows up in the video, but we're starting to get a bit of a stretch and a curve here. Because remember, over here, there will be a piece of trim here and a piece of trim here, and I'm still intending to use the spear as well. So let me pull up what that looks like. Okay, so here's an image I found on Volo that shows how that will look. See, there's the low spear and the trim. So you can see it's 3 pieces of trim here and then that spear along the bottom. Although I've seen cars without that spear too, so I don't know if there's really a reason why it wouldn't be there. Let's see, I'm trying to find one. Okay, here's what it looks like at the rear of the door. So you can see, that's how that bright work looks. I think it looks pretty sharp myself. So, here, I'll get another car. And there she is in red. Now this one doesn't have, oh no, it has the low spear and then the 3 pieces. So that is how that looks. That will hide some of the goofing I'm doing, but you can see there is still a little of it visible underneath right here. So that's the area I'm working. So about that much of it, the mudding is going to have to be a little better. But honestly, I know it looks terrible because of the pound marks, I don't really have the right tools for doing that all big and smooth. You can see back here where I've been pounding. But that's giving me that little bit of curve that I need, because I want these lines to line up. So when all this gets welded back together, when this gets sanded and filled, that should look pretty decent. Alright, I'm trying to decide if I'm going to tack this together and rehang it and see what I think of that or not. Honestly, I realize it's kind of a short night. I've only been on here for, oh my God, longer than I want to admit. And it doesn't look like much has happened. But that might be it for tonight. I may go in and hang out with my lovely wife for a little while. So, we got a long weekend. We'll be back. Well, good morning. Okay, after some careful deliberation, and maybe just a little bit of watching some Reacher, I got 2 things I want to do before I play with that fender. One, now that I know this part on both fenders is the same, I'm going to alter this door a little bit further and get it to match this. I don't care about the rest, but I mean, this profile and that profile are very similar. So it is the door, and I'd like to get something more like what we've got going on here. So we'll deal with that. I also decided I will tack a couple of these in case I need to pull them back off. Yeah, you can see the 2 I ground before using the spot weld cutter, which works a treat, by the way. unless you're pushing harder than you think you are. You might throw the whole thing out and make a little nickel. So we'll go from there. But 2 things to note. One, this takes just a giant stack of shims on here. I couldn't stuff shims in here if I wanted to. It's that tight. I do have 1 shim here and 2 shims in there just to get it to sit. So they definitely fit differently. This gap is very disappointing though. I like it right here, which means I am doing good work right here. See how that's starting to be the same shape as this? But now see how much wider that is? That door would have to come forward, which realistically it could if I really had to. But if I don't have to, let's not go for sloppy if we can help it. So anyway, I think I'm going to focus on a little more of the cleanup here. You can see I've just been kind of folding that over, so I'm probably going to have to whippy that off and decide the best way to do that. Got to think about that for a minute. After a little messing around, I now have a better gap. Once this fender's off, I've got a piece of metal I need to remove, and then I will put 2 tacks in there and grind them down. But you can see I want to peel this lip back, because basically what I've done is cut the skin back, and now I got to fold this bit over, and I've got too much metal right here. But I think that's going to be easier to do with this gun now that I know the shape I'm looking for. Okay, I've loosened the fender, so none of the bolts are held. There's still some shims on that, but it should now come free. Now I can put it in the other room. Remember all those shims? I do too. Okay. So with that removed, let's go ahead and you can see this is the area I'm working right here. I'm just going to have better access without the fender there. So we'll be right back. Okay, so this corner is all cleaned up and ready. I had to split it here and take a piece out. So I better show you. Let me get you off the mount. This mount is terrible. So, ground wire. So I'm getting ready to put just a couple tiny tacks right here. You can see it. I had to split it here to get that to fold down, but you can see that will look like a factory edge. And not remember before how we had it leaned over and it was about that wide. So that is going to look much more like it's supposed to, much more like this. So I'm going to go ahead, put a couple tacks on there, do a little grinding, and then a trick from both Harland and Sylvester Customs there is I'm going to grab an air nozzle, and every time I do a tack, I'm going to cool it and then do the next tack and cool it. And that should help with the stretching. Okay, hopefully that's running. Alright, so get it back. Down. Okay, let's give it a quick clean. Okay. Now I just want to see if there's anywhere I want to hit yet. Yep, right there. Okay, that should be enough. So let me go ahead and get this ground down and we'll be right back. Okay, so here is where we're at now. You can see we've created that false fold over now. And that, I'm going to take a file and just kind of take some of that curl off. I'm not going to do that with the flap disc there. I'll do that with a little hand file. But that is what we were looking for. Okay, so while we had it exposed, I don't know if you remember, but there was one bare spot here, so we went ahead and filled that in. I'm pretty happy here. That's going to look pretty nice. So yeah, I think that's going to really help up here. The other thing I really want to do next is clean up a few spots and just do a couple rosettes on there and try to save it. Okay, just did a bit of tool collection here. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up at least 3 spots, do my rosettes, and then we're going to see how bad I screwed this up. Let's find out. Okay, so the fender is back on. A little bit of fighting because, you know, we had forgotten what shims we used where. And, you know, every time we do anything, there's always some changes. So finally got this kind of where I want it. I'm pretty close, I think. You know, there's just not a lot I can do there, although it looks like there might be a high point here. That may or may not be a problem later. We will find out. But you can see this transition's much nicer. And the gap is much nicer. So next time the fender's off, I got to clean that. There's a smack there. And you can see the gapping here is good. And it starts to expand here, but then come back down here. Part of it is I don't think I have it back far enough because this is all loose here. The other thing is, yes, I know this is beat up. That's going to be fine. But I now have that curve. So once I can get things welded back up, then I can actually work this to this curve. Still nothing I can do here. I really don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know how to make that any better. I guess at some point I got to find out if these lines are even straight at all. You know, is it warped on the door? Of course, it's on both doors. Crap, it's even on my black car, but that car's had body work in the past, so who knows? That could be aftermarket stuff too. I've never taken that car apart that far. So, still would like to see a few more cars. I don't know that there's a lot I can do here. I also don't know if they actually came from the factory nice, because I'll tell you, that factory fender fit even worse. So, I think we're kind of getting where we're going to be here. And I was warned by Harlan to quit using that stuff. So every time I'm working something, I'll take it off. So he doesn't like that, and it's going to cause us problems with our priming and guide coat or whatever. He told me. I don't remember. I'm old. So we still got that same problem here, but remember, we have to build this up. The important thing is it's clean to the rocker, and it's clean to this line here. See, because that's the funny thing is, if I try to bring the door up to get this line a little better here and here, that causes me trouble here, which is the most visible part of the car. You know, especially once you got your little trims on here. So, boy, turns out there's a reason why bodywork costs so much money. I almost forgot to show you guys how nicely this clears when it opens. So, remember, that's the point we're watching. Look at that. No contact. Even if there's paint, no contact. That's what we want. So this nice edge now isn't going to be made out of filler, which means should, you know, during assembly or whatever it touch, it should hold up and not crack and fall off and ruin the paint. May still wind up adding here. Have not decided. Gotta decide how I want to approach that. It has occurred to me that this video could be getting a little long, so I think I'm going to wrap it right here and get this video cut out, and then we'll work the rest of the weekend seeing what we can do here, down here, and depending on how this fits when I'm done, and I know that's bumpy, that's my fault because I don't know what I'm doing. I think the way we'll make this one fit is we'll still cut here like we did so that we can pull it, grind this all down, and maybe take the stud gun, do a line of studs here, and just do some light pull out, and then make it arch it that way. I wonder if that would have been a much better approach. So, yeah. And then don't forget, we still got to fix the end of this too. I don't know what's going on here, but you can see there's a sharp fold. It's definitely bent over. So that'll be fun to fix. So, because that is one spot I don't want to be just filler. You know, that is going to get hit by bugs and rocks and everything else. And if it's just filler, I feel personally that it would be a little weak. And you can see here, I may be able to push the door forward a little. Let me grab our measure stick. You can see that got a little tighter. And that might help right here. And remember, if I got a grind there, no big deal. I welded that up nice. So, yeah, let's end it here. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And start looking for the next video. I'll be doing that over the next couple days. Thanks for watching.